Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Murray, and I am here very happily to bring you the first ever episode of Gridiron Dynasty, a fantasy football podcast. We are 25 seconds into the first recording, and I already messed up once. So this is how this is going to go as many times as we do a recording. Like I said, my name is Tim Murray. The beautiful gentleman, as you can see on the screen, his name is Patrick Smith, or Pat, or Smith, or Smythe, or Little Leprechaun, whatever we feel like calling him that day. So, you guys are probably just wondering, like, why should I listen to these two schmucks talk about fantasy football? Well, I'll tell you why. You shouldn't. Anyway, I've been doing fantasy football. I'm 30 since like the middle of middle school. So roughly half my lifetime I've been playing fantasy football. And for 6-7 years, I've been doing Dynasty specific fantasy football, which is what this podcast is going to be mainly about. So Pat, why should people listen to you?
Mainly because I don't make as many mistakes as you do. Oh, sorry. Just say it was two. It's okay. Don't. We'll keep a track. We got a board ready. I can get a whiteboard. We'll throw it back here.
Yeah, Tim mess ups. That's great.
It's okay. Tim may mess up in this, but Tim does win the fantasy football league every single year. So you got that going for you.
I do. It helps when you have a farm team.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later also. I have been doing fantasy football for just about as long as you, except I have a couple extra years here. So we're looking at about 15 to, I'd say probably about 18 years of doing fantasy football. We've done Dynasty for the last 8 years. I do run that league. As I've mentioned, you have won 3 years in a row now.
3 years in a row, 4 total.
I have casually followed you up in second place most of those years.
Yeah, it's always fun when I go up against you in the finals.
And that is where we're at.
Right. Pat has his own Dynasty League where he is a commissioner. I have my own where I'm a commissioner. We are heading into year 3 of that league. Like Pat said, we're heading into year 9 now of yours.
As it.
And I won my league last year. I won Pat's league last year. I finished second in another league that we're both in, and I just missed the playoffs on my 4th Dynasty League that I'm in. So, safe to say that we do this every year in multiple leagues. It's not like we're just playing against each other in our own leagues. We're doing this against other people, different styles, so we've seen it all when it comes to this. We're in full PPR. We're in half PPR. We're in I'm in a league where there's no defense and no kickers. It's fun. I don't have to worry about that stupid stuff. But I know some of you are out there. Hopefully some of you are watching this or listening to it, whatever. And you're wondering what is Dynasty Fantasy Football. And because I can't get through an intro without messing up, Pat is going to explain what Dynasty Fantasy Football is.
So your basic premise here is it is a expanded keepers league. So you're going to have a draft the first year, fill up your full team. At the end of that year, the idea is to keep usually a minimum of 10 people, depending on how large your roster size is. And then you drop the rest of them. And then you have a draft. And the draft is a shortened draft. It's mainly composed of rookies that have come out of college and combine that with some players that were dropped, some players that moved teams, some players that moved up, some players that just weren't worth keeping on a different team. And the idea is to build up your team over the course of time and maintain that positioning, which is the hardest part. Injuries come in, players pick up new players. There is a lot of stuff that changes year in and year out. So the idea is to maintain success. And that is the key to Dynasty, is not just winning that year, not just making all the right moves for one time. It's to get there and stay there.
Yeah, like Pat's saying, it's cool you win the league one year, but can you do it again? Can you maintain that success, maintain whatever team you have, and build around it? So that's why what we're talking about today are rookie rankings for Dynasty, not just for this upcoming season, just for their whole entire career fantasy outlook as of right now. And that's key. You can get some diamonds in the rough. Like for anyone who was in Dynasty last year, especially me and Pat knows I was beating the drum on this kid from the start, Antonio Gibson. He wasn't someone that people were talking about in the first 5 picks. Some people weren't even drafted him in the first round of rookie drafts. I got him in the second round in Pat's league, and he is going to be my RB2 this year because the kid flourished. This is stuff that you have to look at, and this is why looking at rookies is so important. Now, Pat and I were talking about this before getting on air. This is an awful rookie class. Like, there will be studs that come out of this draft. Don't you worry. But the amount of studs, it's not going to be as much as they were in the past. You don't have your Christian McCaffreys, Saquon Barkley's, your Calvin Ridley's coming out of this draft. You have 3 guys that I'm confident in saying are going to be fantasy productive. That's it. I don't know about you, Pat, but that's where I'm at with that. Like, the top 3 guys, we both agree on who they're going to be. And I think those are the only 3 guys that I have the utmost confidence in succeeding.
Long term, I would say maybe a couple more could sneak in there, but overall, not really looking all that far. If you're outside of a top 5 draft pick in this one, I'm not feeling all that great about what I'm picking. And again, the trick is to find the value. Look at Alvin Kamara. Look at players that have dropped. Sore subject at the moment, Kareem Hunt, though. He dropped all the way down. And he had a fantastic rookie year, and he's coming back the last couple of years. So there are players that you look at that don't really jump off the page, that you'll sneak out late in the first round, early in the second round, that will make a difference. And that's what you need to find. It's that dart play, deep value that you're looking for that's going to make the difference. Those players taken first, second, third, those players are always going first, second, third. So I'm picking 10th. Yeah. Who am I taking?
Exactly. Or then you have like the ones that make it through the entire draft without being picked up because they go to a spot where it doesn't look like they're going to have a good play. Deante Johnson was not drafted in most rookie drafts because he was a 5th round pick? I think.
Yeah, and he got buried on a depth chart.
Yeah, he got buried on the Steelers depth chart. And now aside from his dropping habits, Deante Johnson is a top 20 PPR option in fantasy football, Dynasty specifically. You just got to like read into everything, look at everything. And when we do our rankings, I know for me specifically, I look at landing spot, talent, opportunity, and one of the more important things that some people don't look at is draft capital. And what I mean by draft capital is if someone's being drafted in the first round, there's a bigger opportunity for them to get playing time because of the investment the team put into them. If someone took a 6th round pick on someone and they don't work out, they're not going to force them the ball. But you draft a running back in the first round, you're giving him the football. So that's one of the things I take into account here. There's only one running back in the most recent history that I could think of that was drafted in the first round that hasn't really panned out, and that's been Rashad Penny. And I don't know, it's mainly because of the emergence of Chris Carson and his injuries on top of it. So that's that's something you really need to look into, I think.
I mean, there are other ones to watch out. Obviously, CEH up and down year, but
yeah,
for where they spent on him and for where people drafted him,
yeah,
I'm not feeling too great about that.
Yeah, I'm not ready to give up on CEH yet, though.
I'm not ready yet either.
No, I was saying that people were drafted CH in the first round in like regular drafts last year.
In regular drafts, yeah, he was going 7, 8, 9. Like I don't see anyone that's anywhere close to that level, even though they're getting drafted in the first round. So we have 2 running backs that went off in the first round. Naji Harris, obviously, he's got the best spot. He's got no one there. Yeah, he's got nothing. Nope.
There's nothing in his way except for his own offensive line.
So the defense, because there is no offensive line.
Exactly. So we'll get into more about the specifics about like Naji Harris when we get to the running backs in the rankings. There's just one other thing I want to touch on before we get into rankings. Keep in mind that these rookies, aside from running back, they don't really produce their first year. So if you're going into a rookie draft and you need to hit someone that you think is going to be a big producer, quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end don't usually produce their first year. You do have your like outliers like your Kyler Murray who had a decent rookie year fantasy wise. And then Josh Allen had a decent year rookie for quarterbacks. And then Justin Jefferson and Odell Beckham Jr. are
Higgins.
And T. Higgins, mainly Jefferson and Beckham because of how dominant they were. Those are the two biggest outliers I can think of for wide receivers. I wouldn't expect my rookie wide receivers to be a wide receiver 3 or higher, maybe a 3, maybe a flex, but don't expect them to be your wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1, or else you're not going to have a good year.
No, if you're drafting in those first couple of picks, you're almost always looking running back, unless you are absolutely stacked on running back, and then you're probably looking to trade down a little bit. They're not probably looking at, okay, I got 2. Let me go ahead and jump up, grab a wide receiver.
Right.
This draft is, as bad as it is going to be probably the outlier in that as well.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of receivers.
There's going to be a lot of everything. I think there's going to be
a mess.
A mess at the top. I don't see. It was last year. I think it went. The first 4 picks were running backs. I don't see that again.
No,
at all.
Absolutely not. If you're picking in the top 4 picks, you're most likely not stocked at running back.
Because you're doing research.
If you're not, you are definitely making sure you do all your research. If you're not picking at the 101, you're doing research pretty much with this draft. It's a clear-cut 101 for me. So we'll jump right into our rankings right now. We're gonna go position by position, and then when we're talking about the position, we'll talk about where they are overall, pretty much for us. So we'll start with the obvious one, quarterback. Like I said, rookie quarterbacks. Don't expect them to be your starting quarterback for the year. If you're expecting your rookie quarterback to be your number 1 option, you're going to have a bad time, in my opinion. Because none of these quarterbacks that are in this draft jump off the page athleticism-wise like a Kyler Murray or Josh Allen did, where they're going to get you that rushing aspect to it, or Lamar Jackson. They give you that
Burrow.
Even Burrow gave you a rushing aspect to it, and they can chuck the ball down the field. Number 1 overall pick was Trevor Lawrence to the Jaguars. Unless this is your first year with football in general, you know that's not the best fantasy position in the world, quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Blake Bortles was good for fantasy because he had garbage time. So if anyone's out there like, but Tim, Blake Bortles was good. Yeah, because the team sucked. And he had all this garbage time. So we have our first discrepancy between the two of us at quarterback 1 from this draft. Pat has Trevor Lawrence, and I have Justin Fields. So, Pat, why do you think Trevor Lawrence is the best fantasy quarterback out of this class?
I give it to him. Basically, I think Jacksonville is going to be able to build up around him. Chicago, for everything they have, just doesn't produce good quarterbacks. They have a couple of good years with their quarterbacks, but they don't really sustain success. And I know what you're thinking, neither does Jacksonville. And that's fair. But Jacksonville has changed everything. They've changed their coach. They've changed their ownership. They've changed literally everything. They've moved on in life. And they've moved on to having, they have 12 draft picks in this draft? Something outrageous. Yeah.
A lot.
So, and they're coming back again next year with them. So you got 2 years in a row where you're going to have draft picks. Obviously, you're taking the Rams pick every single year. So hopefully that's a bad pick. Please, God. But you're going to have opportunities to build. And to me, when they took Etienne, it was stupid, but it was a sign that they're ready to play offense. You still have good wide receivers there. Trevor Lawrence, for everything you say, can run. Does he have the body and the build to run in the NFL? Probably not. Can he work through that? Hopefully. I don't think the projections for where he's going to be running are anywhere close to what he's actually going to be running, because the first time you get hit in the NFL, you don't like it. You saw that with Joe Burrow. He learned how to slide really fast. They had made a whole thing out of it. He wasn't going to slide. He was going to go. Then he was sliding. And I think you're going to see that from Lawrence also. As far as Justin Fields is concerned, he's checking the boxes. He was 2 to Trevor Lawrence's 1 every single step of the way. Drafting, college, recruiting. He was that 2. Trevor Lawrence was that 1. And I don't think the Bears present that much better of a fantasy opportunity than the Jacksonville Jaguars will. Because as much as the Jaguars suck, they're still going to get garbage time. And Trevor Lawrence is still going to play in it. And he's going to have that check down to his go-to running back. He's going to have big wide receivers on the outside. He's going to have Tim Tebow to throw a touchdown. Okay, that's a joke. But he's going to have he's going to have options. And I do think he's still going to put up garbage time points. And over the course of his career, who do I think is going to get the most offensive weapons put in around him with the best coaching opportunity? I think that's going to be Lawrence over Fields.
So I agree with you on everything you said about Trevor Lawrence. This kid, for all intents and purposes, was the best quarterback prospect the NFL has seen since Andrew Luck, and everyone knows Andrew Luck was a great fantasy quarterback. He was. However, I don't necessarily believe in Matt Nagy as a head coach, but I believe in Matt Nagy as an offensive mind. And I think Justin Fields is the most talented quarterback he's had to work with since he was offense coordinator for Patrick Mahomes. So I think that he's going to be able to do that correctly. And I understand what you're saying about the Bears. They haven't really produced a good quarterback ever for fantasy football. But Matt Nagy hasn't had his choice of a quarterback for his team either. He came in and had Mitchell Trubisky there. They, for some reason, traded for Nick Foles. I don't know why. They took on that gigantic contract for no reason. But then they made the investment to move up 9 picks to pick Justin Fields. They signed Andy Dalton in the offseason. Andy Dalton's probably going to start the first 4 to 7 games before Fields takes in. And the way I look at it right now, he's got the better weapons on offense too. He's got Allen Robinson, who's, in my opinion, one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. Severely underrated. DJ Chark is just up and down to me. If he gets consistent quarterback play, he could be better. But Allen Robinson is proven.
Stays healthy.
Allen Robinson had Blake Bortles as his quarterback. He had Mitchell Trubisky as his quarterback. He had Nick Foles as his quarterback. You tell me any wide receiver besides DeAndre Hopkins before Deshaun Watson got to Houston that went through a ring of quarterbacks that bad and still produced. Now he's going to have someone who can actually throw the football to him. So that's why I think Justin Fields, it's a great fit for him with Matt Nagy. He fits the type of quarterback Matt Nagy wants. He's athletic. He can throw the ball. He can throw the ball accurately, which is most important, which Mitchell Trubisky couldn't do because he couldn't tell what color jerseys the other team was wearing, it seemed like. So I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence is going to be bad. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be great. I just think Justin Fields with Matt Nagy and the better weapons becomes a better fantasy option. As far as quarterback, like on the football field, I think it's still going to be Trevor Lawrence. But as far as fantasy production, I put it to Fields.
You also got to look at who runs the ball more.
Right.
And David Montgomery breakout season. I don't think that's going to last very long either. I think he's going to come back down to the mean. James Robinson had a great year, but you don't draft a running back in the first round and keep James Robinson.
Exactly. Or you don't give James Robinson the rock as many times as they did when you draft one.
Right. Travis Etienne isn't a full head of steam rushing running back. That's not what he's built for. He's built for swing passes. He's built for quick out of the backfield. And those are fantasy points that go both ways. And that, I think, is going to be one of the biggest things that people overlook is that David Montgomery doesn't really have hands. And Tariq Cohen's going to come back. But what does he come back as? We don't really know. So if you're looking at where do those points come from, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to get a lot more points out of passing from the backfield, which is just easy money.
Especially in garbage time, little dump offs to Travis is going to be huge for them. I have one person in between them on my overall rankings, so it's not like there's a huge difference in my rankings for them. I just really like Justin Fields. I'm a Jets fan. I preferred Fields over Wilson to come to the Jets, but I don't hate Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson's going to be good. I don't know how to say that confidently as a Jets fan, but
How many quarterbacks can you guys ruin? It's not possible to ruin another one, is it?
That's not nice. Is that nice? That's not
Is
nice.
it?
That's not nice, Patrick.
Show me the lie.
No,
Show me.
There is no lie,
Show
so
me
I
the
can't
lie.
stop. All right, so we both think the number one, number two fantasy quarterbacks are going to be good fantasy quarterbacks eventually.
Mm-hmm.
It's after them where it gets a little hazy.
A lot of hazy.
I have Trey Lance next. Pat has Zach Wilson next, and then we both have. So then,
Mack Jones.
Mack Jones is fifth. So I go Fields, Lawrence, Lance, Wilson, Jones, and Pat is pretty much the opposite up until Mack Jones. So
that is true.
Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, it all depends on how their systems go. Trey Lance, I think, is going to sit for a majority of the season. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play the majority of the season. Trey Lance is going to learn. And he fits the mold, kind of, for the Kyle Shanahan offense. He's got a better arm than Garoppolo does. Lance has a very good arm. He's just got to fine-tune his mechanics a little bit to work on those slant routes and stuff like that. And as far as Zach Wilson goes, he's going to the same style of offense, most likely in New York, because they have LaFleur, who worked under Shanahan in San Francisco. Obviously, Saleh's the head coach over there from Shanahan. They're going to run a Shanahan's type system, which is good for a young quarterback. Quick passes, build up the confidence. As far as fantasy production, though, aside from Matt Ryan, Kyle Shanahan offenses don't really produce. Well, RG3 had that 1 year, but then he got hurt. But ever since he went to San Francisco as the head coach, he hasn't really produced a legitimate week-to-week fantasy starting quarterback. So that's why I don't think those two systems yield to a good fantasy production for a quarterback. What do you think, Pat?
He loves to run the football.
Exactly.
If he could have 6 running backs on the field, I think he'd do it.
He has 6 on the roster.
And we've seen all 6 of them in a game. I just don't think we've seen them all at the same time. But don't count that out yet because he keeps adding more of them.
That'd be fun.
Just waiting.
Just put one in at center. It's all good.
Why not? Hey, it's a quadruple option. I just don't. I don't see the Trey Lance production in that system. I get that he's got raw talent. I get that he's going to learn for a year. It's just Kyle Shanahan loves to run the football. And when it comes to that, you're going to get those bomb passes. You're going to get the passes Jimmy Garoppolo misses in, the Super Bowl that lose you the game, that Trey Lance probably doesn't miss. But overall, I think Zach Wilson gets the better weapons. I think he gets the better offense. I think he gets better opportunities. I said it. Don't look at me like that. It had to be said.
You're talking about the Jets, Pat.
Yeah, well, listen, the Jets have to learn how to pass eventually, right? Come on, they have to. They'd have no one to run the ball.
They have to pass to the other team.
Well, they'll probably do that a couple times. I'm sure Zach Wilson will do his fair share of interceptions.
Yeah.
We'll just knock off -2. We'll make it -1. That way Zach Wilson has a fair chance. But the Trey Lance, Patrick Mahomes references are, I think, what's doing it for me, because he's not Patrick Mahomes.
No one
and
else is Patrick
everyone
Mahomes.
who puts him up on that pedestal, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Right, and there's no way you can tell that a quarterback coming out of the draft is Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes wasn't Patrick Mahomes when he was coming out of the draft. So how can you say some other kid, he's got all the traits of Patrick Mahomes, when nobody was high on Patrick Mahomes? The only team that was high on Patrick Mahomes was the Kansas City Chiefs. And they traded up and got him. Yeah. And then you got that same draft, the stupid Bears that trade up one position to get Mitchell Trubisky. With Deshaun Watson, off-field stuff, regardless, a better quarterback than Mitchell Trubisky. Mack Jones, not really a lot to talk about with Mack Jones. He's not the quote-unquote sexy pick. He's going to get the job done. He's going to be a game manager. He's not going to be Tom Brady. So don't anyone think he's going to be Tom Brady. And aside from Brady's record-setting years, Brady was a
mid-range quarterback in the NFL anyway, for fantasy football-wise.
He'd be like a QB6 to 8 range. He wasn't a guy who, aside from the year when he broke the touchdown passing record, and that's because of Randy Moss, Tom Brady wasn't a huge fantasy option at quarterback.
Consistent, but not
Exactly. Nothing.
not going to put up
nothing
35, 40 points.
Right. Nothing to write home about. Mack Jones has a little bit of athleticism too. He's not just going to be a statue back there. He can run, which seems to be the mold for all quarterbacks coming out now. So that's nothing new. You don't really see I'm going to stay in the pocket and not move quarterback anymore coming out like Eli Manning. So, and then I just want to touch on one more quarterback, and I see he snuck into your top list of players here, and I'm very excited for him because he was a huge recruit coming out of high school. I believe he was the number 1 recruit.
He was the number 1 recruit. Yes,
and
he was.
He went, and I believe
knee injury.
He got hurt. But Davis Mills goes to the Houston Texans in the 3rd round. So,
yeah, that was their first pick.
That was their first pick in the 3rd round. So look at it this way. I talked about draft capital. And also something you need to realize, if a team's waited until the 3rd round to make their first pick and their first pick is on a quarterback, that's huge. That means they do not believe Deshaun Watson is coming back to Houston. Or if he is, he's on his way out. And they're going to trade him. He's probably going to wind up on the commissioner's exempt list to start the season. He's going to get suspended. Regardless of the court things, he's making all the settlements. That's cool. Goodell's going to suspend him. Because that's
You have to.
You have to. You cannot have these allegations without getting suspended. But Davis Mills going to Houston, he could wind up being a very middle of the road to above average fantasy quarterback. He has all the skill set, but he does have that injury history, and that's why teams passed up on him. But like I said, coming out of high school, he was the number 1 quarterback recruit. Big quarterback.
He was.
Recruit.
And granted, they picked up Tyrod Taylor, but I don't think that's. Look at what the Chargers did. I mean, they had to they stabbed him in the lung to make him get out of the game. So I mean, you look at what the best option for the team is. I think if Mills gets through training camp, doesn't look bad, doesn't get injured, I think you could see him earlier on in the year than people are expecting. That offensive line still frightens me, and will probably fight in Davis Mills, especially for someone who's experienced injuries like that before.
Yeah, and going up against Indy twice a year isn't exactly fun either with that defense.
Best. Because Tyrod Taylor can start those games. It's fine.
Right.
But Davis Mills trying to survive here.
And as much as he gets hurt, Brandon Cooks isn't a bad wide receiver.
No, and they picked up Nico Collins, which was a big pick that was under the radar.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't talking about. And they usually find a way to get, 9 or 10 running backs also. Whatever one San Francisco doesn't take usually end up on the Texans. Yeah, so, I mean, they'll have someone in the backfield. Maybe the running backs can play offensive line. Have they tried that yet?
I don't know. Have they tried to trade away 1 million draft picks for left tackle again?
Yeah, they picked in the 3rd round for their first pick. I think they've tried everything.
Yeah, it's very true.
But I think Davis Mills does get an upgrade to at least be looked at in this to factor in.
If you're sitting if you're sitting there in a dynasty league and you have an older quarterback who's questionable future, like Aaron Rodgers right now has a questionable future, and if you're sitting there, you have Aaron Rodgers, and you get to the 3rd, 4th round in your rookie draft, and Davis Mills is still on the board, I'd add him. I'd draft him there because there's not really a lot of value you're going to get in the 3rd, 4th round anyway. It's a speculative ad for most positions anyway. Why not add a speculative quarterback ad when the future of Aaron Rodgers is uncertain? I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to play next year. I think he's going to be in Denver next year, not in Green Bay. But I still think he's going to play. But for how much longer is he going to play, I don't know. But I wouldn't expect Davis Mills, like I said, for all these quarterbacks to jump off the page year 1 and give you fantasy production. But he's a very nice speculative ad for me.
My biggest person who should be watching Davis Mills is someone who already owns Deshaun Watson.
There's that too.
If you're sitting there with all those questions asked, if you can't get one of the top 3, maybe top 2, because you're going to Davis Mills strikes me as someone who's going to drop because he does have injury concerns. He has a lot of things that people don't really talk about when it comes to him. So he's going to drop. I think round 4, round 5, even off the waiver wire, you can probably still grab him. I don't know if there's no one else that you're looking to add and there's no other position you're looking to address and you have that, snag him, great. But I think he is going to drop. And I think it would be, look, Patrick Mahomes was a waiver wire ad.
Yeah, I remember I had him and dropped him, and you picked him up.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's unfortunate for you.
Well, no, it's not unfortunate because I win every year still.
Yeah, that's true. I also traded away Patrick Mahomes, so here we are. I don't like quarterbacks. You already know that.
Yeah.
But I do think Davis Mills will probably drop. He's probably someone that you could wait around on because he's not going to play those first couple of weeks. He doesn't have a chance to, even if DeAndre, what the fuck is his name?
Deshaun Watson?
That one. DeAndre Hopkins got traded already.
God.
Hey, look, I turned into you over here.
Yeah, well, no, it's because you keep sipping on that whiskey.
Hey, it's good.
Right.
By the end of the day, we'll mix up all the players. I think Tyrod Taylor still starts the first handful of weeks, even if that does go.
Watson's facing at least 4 games suspension.
I don't think Watson's going back to Houston anyway. The real question is, does anyone make a move for Watson? I think at this point, if you're Houston and someone offers you anything, and Houston's really good at getting offered anything and just taking it. So if there's a team that I think is going to just take anything, I think it's going to be Houston. So I don't think Deshaun Watson is there for a lot longer. You have several teams that are looking for quarterbacks that won't mind taking a little bit of risk. Obviously, everyone's going to wait out to see what the commissioner does. The lawsuits have gotten quiet over the last couple of weeks. There's been other things in the news, but it's going to come back, and it's going to come back hard once something comes of it. And then you'll have the commissioner's decision, and then you'll see what teams do. But hey, Kareem Hunt got picked up. Antonio Brown's on a team. Deshaun Watson's going to be on a team. So Deshaun Watson's going to be somewhere. Don't drop him.
No.
Don't do that.
No. If you're in a league with me and you're planning on dropping him, just come to me. I'll trade.
I mean, I think Josh Gordon is still owned in some leagues. So there's always that.
Right, yeah.
Berman.
No, Berman's not Corey Coleman somehow for whatever reason.
There's always a chance that these guys come back, and I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to be out for long. But I do think you're probably sitting on him for most of, if not all of, this season. So seek other options.
Yep. If
you haven't already. And Davis Mills is one of the future options. But if you have Deshaun Watson and he's your only quarterback, you may want to look. You may want to look towards Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson in this draft if you don't have someone that you want on the waiver wire, because those are the two that are going to start week 1, and that's your shot. So if you're laid off in round 1, because I do think Trevor Lawrence is going to go in round 1 of most rookie drafts, maybe that's your spot. You're at 8-9. I think that would be a pretty solid 8-9 pick if your other quarterback is Deshaun Watson.
Agreed completely. I think Vegas has the odds set at 2.5 quarterbacks starting week 1 that are rookies this year. I'm slamming the under on that. I don't think anyone, barring injuries, I can't see anyone but maybe Mack Jones. Maybe Mack Jones. But I think Bill's still going to have Cam start week 1 because it's
unless Mack Jones has an outrageous training camp,
which
I agree with you.
Which I don't see him having, but it's going to be
playing wide receiver on that team.
Me.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, like Pat said, those guys are guaranteed to start week 1. But then after that, no one else is really going to be starting week 1. Just to touch on the Deshaun Watson a little bit, because we brought it up. I do see him getting traded too. The team that I see him getting traded to worries me a little bit because of what for Davis Mills' prospects, what they might be getting back. One of the teams that I've been hearing, if they get you a slow start, would be Philly. If Jalen Hurts comes out of the gates and is not good, they trade for Deshaun Watson. They package Hurts and a pick and get Deshaun Watson. Then the Houston Texans get another young quarterback. That would be the only thing that would worry me because Jalen Hurts and then Davis Mills would be competing against each other. But besides that, Davis Mills has almost a direct line to wind up starting for Houston at some point in his future. It could be later this year, even, for all we know.
And before you have to trade Deshaun Watson, you're going to get to see what Davis Mills has to offer as the Texans. So if the Texans go ahead and trade Deshaun Watson for another quarterback, you know what they saw.
Exactly.
If they're trading
him to Philly for a struggling at that point, I would be assuming a struggling Jalen Hurts at that point. You know, Davis Mills is not it. So then that's when you can say, hey, I don't like this guy no more. All right, moving on. We're going to the steak portion of the rookie draft, and that is running backs. And I say steak portion, and by steak portion, I mean filet mignon because it's a literally small piece that's going to be really good, but the rest is not. And that sucks. I can't remember a rookie class that has angered me as much as this one has for when it comes to running backs. At the 101 pick in this draft, I don't care about need. I don't care if you need a wide receiver. I don't care if you need a quarterback. You're taking Naji Harris. Naji Harris is the unquestioned 101 in this draft. He has the best spot. He does no one to compete with him. If you're trying to tell me that Benny Snell is going to compete for carries with Naji Harris, I'm going to throw you out my window. It's Naji Harris, drafted 24th overall to Pittsburgh in the first round of the NFL draft. Like I said, draft capital, first round pick. He's got a 4-year contract. You're going to give him the ball his first year. You're going to give him the ball his second year. You know, Pittsburgh's running game last year was screen passes and slant passes to Juju and Deante Johnson because they didn't have a running game. Now they actually have a running back. Do I think Naji Harris is going to have a top 12 running back performance this year? Maybe, but probably not. Is it going to be top 15? Yeah, I'd give him top 15. But he's the number 1 pick, in my opinion. And it's not even close. The number 2 guy is great, and we'll get to him when we get to him. But it's just Naji Harris. It's number 1. Easily.
I was trying to think of if there were 2 running backs that got hurt last year that you could have had on your team at the same time that would make you not draft a running back in this, and I still can't do it. No, Naji Harris, he's the clear-cut leader in touches in this draft. You're looking at this draft and you're thinking everyone else maybe maximum 10 touches a game leading in. Especially the whole first year, I'm thinking that maybe 10, maybe a little bit more, but not much. Najee's going to get 20, 25.
Exactly.
He's going to double up on these guys. I think the positioning outweighs the need. Even if you had 2 running backs that you have, you're still taking Naji Harris. Or you're doing what I said earlier and you're trading out. But Naji Harris, fill up your flex spot, take care of if you get an injury. It would be dumb to pass on Naji Harris in this draft if you're the 1-1.
Right. Even if you trade out of the 101, the person that's trading into the 101, taking Naji Harris.
He's taking Naji Harris. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what you're doing. There's not more we can say about it. We could talk to her blue in the face about how good of a prospect he was coming out of college. We can talk to her blue in the face about how good of a fantasy prospect he is. He's gonna be good.
And he's gonna be a 3-down back.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Can't stress
He's got
it
pass
enough.
blocking. He's got the pass blocking. He can run through defensive lines. He has the hands to make plays. He's going to be a 3-down back. There is not going to be a competition in Pittsburgh. They're going to hand him the ball and say, go.
Yeah, here you go. Ben Roethlisberger is going to be standing back there. He's going to be like, here, take the ball. You go that way. And that's what's going to happen. They're coming for you. Good luck. And Naji Harris is going to be like, aye, Captain, and just go. Oh, look at that. We have a discrepancy at number 2. I'm chalking this up to because Pat went to the University of South Carolina, so he just hates Clemson.
Me, I put Trevor Lawrence number 1. You can't say that no more.
That's just because he looks like Sunshine.
And then I
from
said
Remember the
nice things
Titans.
about him.
I know, but he just looks like Sunshine from Remember the Titans, and it give you some nostalgia, and that's why you like him.
No, you want to know where you know what's funny about that, right?
What?
You know who Sunshine was, right?
Yeah.
His name? Where do you play quarterback?
He played quarterback for the Titans.
University of South Carolina.
Did he really?
Yes, he did.
That's interesting. That's
It's
incredibly
funny
interesting.
it's funny you drew that comparison right there.
Yeah, that was
yes,
all
he did.
planned. Calculated. That's calculated right there, my man. I have. Is it ETN? I don't.
ETN.
ETN.
We'll tag him in this, and if he listens to it, he can tell us how to pronounce
Right.
his name. So
I have him
that'll
at 2.
never happen.
I have him at
Here we
2.
are.
Pat has him at 3. Pat's got Javonte at 2. I got Javonte at 3. So it's not like we're far off from each other. I don't think he's going to be the running back that Urban Meyer said he's going to be. We drafted him. I envisioned him as a third down back. You did not draft a running back in the first round just to be a third down back. If you are, then you should be fired. He was the number 25 overall pick. Again, draft capital. Is he going to get the rock as much as Naji Harris? Absolutely not. Will he have more big plays than Naji Harris? Absolutely. He has that home run capability to him. He has that type of athleticism on the swing passes and all that stuff. So that's why I have him ahead of Javonte Williams. I do think the Jaguars will do more of a 50-50 split with him and James Robinson unless they unload James Robinson onto somebody. I know I traded away James Robinson in one of my Dynasty leagues that I have him in this offseason because I didn't think he was going to be the starting running back in Jacksonville, or at least the number 1 running back in Jacksonville, because he was an undrafted rookie. Yeah, he had a great season. Yeah, it was a great story. But look at Philip Lindsay. Another undrafted rookie. Great story, great season. Where is he? Where running backs go to die? Houston. Poor guy.
Hey, all right. Yeah. Add.
So why do you like Javonte more than Travis?
I don't envision Travis as high because he doesn't, for me, bring everything to the table. He can run outside between the tackles, yet to be seen. When it came to big games against bigger defenses, he was there, but there wasn't anything on the scoreboard.
Right.
Look at what he did against Ohio State. Look what he did against Notre Dame twice. There was just nothing there. I know, granted, one time they played without their starting quarterback, but still. So does he have the pass blocking to always be out there on third down? He's got the hands, so he's going to be out there on third down. But what happens when you need someone to pass block? He can't pass block.
Right.
Is that something you can learn in the NFL? Yes, but I think he's going to take some time to learn it. He does have to bulk up a little bit. Javonte Williams, for me, honestly, I thought he was going to be drafted first. I did. I thought he was going to Pittsburgh. He fit that mold of hard-headed, between the tackles.
I'm going to run you over.
Busted up the middle. I'm going to run you over type player that Pittsburgh usually goes for. I get they went for the best running back in the draft, and that's okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see Javonte Williams, especially in that division, as someone who can make noise. You're going to get Oakland twice. You're going to get the Chiefs twice, and the Chiefs, yeah, they played defense once, and they lost, and then they never played defense again. So if you're looking at overall what your best option is, Javonte Williams is going to be behind Melvin Gordon, and Travis Etienne is going to be behind James Robinson. Who goes out first? Probably Robinson. But Melvin hasn't shown the best durability in his career.
Nope.
He hasn't shown the best attitude when presented with a challenge in his career.
Nope.
Looking at you.
So the thing with Javonte Williams is I like Javonte Williams. I liked him as a prospect. I thought he was going to wind up being a Jet also. But the reason why I have Travis ahead of him is because of the fact that Javonte, his style of running is pretty similar to Melvin Gordon's. So you have two Thunders going back to back with each other. It like when a 50-50 split or a dual running back split works, it's usually because you have a Thunder with a Lightning. You know, when you had Chase Edmonds coming in for Kenyon Drake last year in Arizona. Kenyon Drake running between the tackles, Chase Edmonds doing a little bit of the outside stuff. That's what I like to see when I see a running back timeshare. And with Travis Etienne and James Robinson's going to be your more or less bruiser. And then Etienne's going to give you the electric plays on the outside. Both are very valuable to a team. I think once Melvin Gordon gets hurt, and I say once because it's going to happen, because it happens every year, Javonte Williams will step up and take that job from him. How early that happens, I don't know, but I think in the long run, they're both going to be pretty similar. Like I have them ranked one right after the other, overall 4 and 5. So I think they're both going to be good. I just think Etienne, because of the home run capability, is going to be a little bit better.
The thing that does it for me is if Williams has a good year this year, if he does well as that timeshare, Melvin's on his last year of his contract.
He's out.
He ain't come back because you got a better deal with a rookie running back. That's the way running backs in the NFL work. You're there for 4 or 5 years, and then you go into free agency hell for the next 5 years if you're good enough. And if you're not, you go into free agency hell for the next 3 years. So who lasts longer? Overall, I think Etienne has better hands, which is big in PPR, and that's fair. That's why Travis Etienne still finishes inside my top 8. I think I have him here 7. I started at 4, so he's 7 for me. So he's still up there. He's not. There's not like there was a huge hit there.
No,
I like Javonte Williams' goal line possession. I like if the Broncos can get a better quarterback. Looking at you, Aaron Rodgers. I like what Javonte Williams can bring to the table once Melvin Gordon's no longer eating at it.
Yeah, 100%. And I was one of the biggest Melvin Gordon truthers that was out there because I believed in his talent. I thought he was a good running back until I traded him, and then I stopped lying. But I do think Melvin Gordon is going to get the ball to start the year. They gave him a decent enough contract where he's going to get the ball. He's getting paid how much money per year? 8?
They gave Philip Lindsay the ball. They'll give anyone the ball. They'll give anyone the ball out there in Denver. Anyone who's not their quarterback, because they don't want their quarterback to be killed.
If they get Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be whoever Aaron Rodgers wants to get the ball.
True, and that if you look at what Aaron Rodgers likes in his running backs, his top 2, Jones, and then the way he enjoyed what A.J. Dillon did, I'm sure he's not going to forget that. He can pass the ball to 8 different people if he wants to. He doesn't need a running back out of the backfield to do that.
Nope.
He needs a threat of a run to do that, and about 3 seconds of it, because then the ball's out of his hands anyway. So it does depend on what happens there. Drew Lock is not.
He's not it.
I don't think he's it, but I'm not an NFL scout, so who the hell am I to talk?
Maybe
he is it, and we're all wrong.
I'm not an NFL scout either, and he's not it.
He's not it.
He's not it.
But that wide receiver core is ready to go.
Oh, 100%.
It's ready to go.
It's such a good wide receiver core. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler. Like, this is a Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick is getting. It's us. Tim Patrick is us. The underrated underdog. That's us. That's our podcast right now. Tim Patrick, love us.
And then Noah Fant in there, tight end. I mean, they have a stacked offense. So what do they need? I think so. He was a rookie 2 years ago, and he got hurt. So I think that's a free year. So
maybe they have.
He's got to be there if he can stay healthy. Question marks everywhere there. But if you can get a quarterback in that team,
oh my God,
that's so. I mean, that's
game over in that.
You gotta
not in that division, but
do you need someone with hands? Not necessarily. You need someone who's going to break tackles, who's going to bust through everything. And I think Javonte Williams ends up being the better short option in that offense. And short options lead to touchdowns. And touchdowns will outweigh a catch any day of the week unless the catch goes for 80 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
In the playoffs, and you benched him, Tyler Boyd. Thank you very much. I hate you. Anyway, I mean, I had 1 catch that game. First catch of the game, 80 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Beat every single wide receiver on my team.
Or when you have, like, in the championship game, Alvin Kamara scores 6 touchdowns.
That was before the championship. No, it was a
It
championship.
was
game.
against Berman. It was the championship game.
It's hard to come back. He almost came back from that too. You only beat him by like 40. You're beating him by 400 going into the final game. So
I know. I took it easy on him. RB4 we're the same person on, and I think after this running back here at RB4, it's kind of gross. So we don't really need to talk about anybody after this guy.
I have one more after that, and so do you.
Yeah, I do too. We have the same person, and I was going to bring him up, but it's not something we're going to harp on. It's going to be the same type of thing that we were talking about with Davis Mills. He's an injury away. Okay, we'll get to him. Michael Carter is RB4 for both of us. I have Michael Carter all the way up at 10 overall, I think. And Pat, you have him at 12 overall.
2 spots down from you.
Yeah. So I'm going to start because he's a Jet. Mm-hmm. The Jets didn't sign a big running back this offseason, which some people thought they were going to go after Aaron Jones if he hit free agency. The Jets were a landing spot. Kenyon Drake was rumored to go to the Jets. A lot of these running backs were rumored to go to the Jets. The Jets signed Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman's a decent running back. He's a good running back. He knows the system. He knows the system. But
I roll my eyes back further, but I'm not convinced that people can see that on camera. So I'm just going to say it out loud that I'm doing it and make sure they know.
Tevin Coleman's not awful. He's not great. He's not awful. And then besides that, the Jets on their roster right now, they don't have anybody that's like they've Johnson.
And P. Ryan.
P. Ryan didn't really show anything last year. But Michael Carter, Jets drafted him in the 4th round. They were going to draft him in the 3rd round if they could, but they traded their 2 third-round picks to move up to draft a guard, Elijah Vera Tucker, the best guard in the draft. So they drafted last year Mekhi Becton, an absolute mauler, a monster, and now they draft Vera Tucker to play next to him on the interior, and interior linemen are better usually at run blocking than they are for pass blocking, and that's their main purpose. They help in the pass blocking game, don't get me wrong. But like I said, they were planning on drafting him in the 3rd round. Like I saw a clip of Joe Douglas talking to him. He said, man, we were real sweating that whole 3rd round, and then you fell to us in the 4th round, and we couldn't believe it. So Michael Carter goes to the Jets, and I think he has a real opportunity to get a big timeshare in that backfield. I don't think he's going to be the number one. He's not going to be like Naji Harris getting the ball all the time. I don't even think he's going to be getting the ball as much as Etienne or Javonte Williams, but he's going to get in the ball enough where he's going to make some type of relevancy in fantasy rosters and be like a flex 2 option potentially towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I can live with all that. I don't know if he's, and it depends on your roster. Mm-hmm. He's one of those roster guys for me. I don't even know if he's off the bat a flex option. We obviously have a league that 2 running backs, 2 flex options. So it opens up a lot more opportunities. I think he's a good stash player. Just to see what they make of that. He was the split back with Williams. So he was there. He's doing his thing. He's got great yard per touch numbers. He's got great offense playing in UNC. That's not really – they don't have a lot of competition, but they also don't usually blow up numbers. They usually produce a little bit of a mid-range offense. And they did a little bit better than that with those 2 playing running back. So who's the best running back on the Jets? It's Michael Carter.
Easily.
Is the Jets offense going to be fantasy relevant? And that's going to be the question that needs to get answered. And I want to say yes. And I think their running back is going to be probably the thing that makes it most fantasy relevant. Because if you can get out of the backfield, if you can do what Le'Veon Bell was supposed to do.
Yeah.
If they wanted him to be a threat out of the backfield, you can open up more. You have field stretching ability. They have it. They have it. They've drafted. They drafted more of it. Was that on purpose, Pat? I only have so many jokes.
Was that on purpose, Pat?
I wrote this one down.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
Good one.
I had to get one in there.
Applause to you, sir.
So
This is the type
that's
of
it. I'm done.
this is the type of stuff that you can expect on Gridiron Dynasty here. This is the type of content you can expect from us here. It's just Pat is a dad, so he will be full of dad jokes.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. The one joke I wrote out hit well. Perfect. Check.
It just took me by surprise, man.
So I think they have that. And then it comes down to what's Zach Wilson going to do? Is he going to be good enough in that offense?
Is he going to be seeing ghosts?
Is he going God, he might. You never know in New York. He might see the ghost of Sam Darnold past.
Week 1 in Carolina, he'll see it.
Yeah, so he's going to see it real fast. There's a lot of questions there, but I think you have a lot of tough passing matchups, and you're going to have to run the ball. New England was missing half of their defense last year. They all sat out.
Right.
They're going to be back.
And it's scary to say this, but like the New England pass defense is probably the worst besides the Jets in that division, and they have Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah,
you
could just erase. You could take someone from the field and just erase him, and that guy's done. So let's just look at everyone else. So you got the Bills, who have a great secondary. Their weakness is the running game. You have the Dolphins, whose strength is their secondary. Their weakness is their running game.
Very good secondary.
So they're gonna have 6 games where your running back's gonna have to set the tone. And if you're looking at that's a third of this. It's more than just over a third of the season out. They've expanded the season. So who's the best running back, and is he gonna get the job done? So that's why I think Michael Carter gets a little bit of a bump up over some of the guys who are right behind him, who I think maybe they're all wide receivers right behind him, and one quarterback. So that's where he is for me, just slightly behind yours, and that's because it's still the Jets.
Right,
and until that changes, it will forever still be the Jets.
Right, and I can't stress this enough. I'm a Jets fan, like I've said multiple times. And like when Pat makes a comment about the Jets being good, I give that shocked face because I don't hear it that often, man. And I gotta tell you, it's refreshing, and I like it, especially coming from you. Anyway, the one thing I can't stress enough about the New York Jets that people need to realize is there was one big subtraction from that team this offseason, and it's not Sam Darnold, that makes their players immediately more fantasy relevant than they have ever been, and that has been the firing of Adam Gase.
I was gonna say, if you didn't say the coach, I was leaving the podcast.
No, Adam Gase leaving. Adam Gase leaving the Jets is one of the
best thing he's ever done for the Jets.
100%. If you look at Adam Gase, the year after a player leaves Adam Gase's system, aside from Jarvis Landry, who was productive with Adam Gase, they all jump off the page. Kenyon Drake gets traded to the Cardinals. He goes off. He's great. Ryan Tannehill, balling out in Tennessee. Anybody who leaves Adam Gase's system, and I think it's just going to work for the whole organization. The Jets are going to go 17-0 and win a Super Bowl.
Okay, you gotta go 20, win a Super Bowl.
Patrick, I don't like your negativity.
You know.
I don't need your negativity in my life.
That's fair.
But yeah, no, I like Michael Carter. I like Michael Carter a lot. The running back tandem out of UNC, unreal. That's a great tandem to come out of into the draft. A real good.
They also put a wide receiver out this year.
They did.
The UNC put out a lot of talent.
Shocking. The last time the Jets drafted a kid out of UNC, or the last time the Jets drafted a high-profile guy out of UNC, it was Quentin Coples, and that worked out really well for them, I think. Right? Yep. Nope. Yep, right. So we each have one more. Okay, I have 2 running backs left on my list. One of them I have on there just because I wanted to yell at the team that drafted him because I hate them.
Well,
Pat knows how much
he's still there on mine.
Is he? How far down is he on yours?
He's still there.
He's far.
20th.
Yeah, okay. We're not really going to talk about him that much.
He's 2 behind you again.
Right. So, Kenny Gainwell.
Terrible spot.
You know what? I haven't cursed once on this podcast
Terrible
yet.
spot.
Fuck you, Philly.
I have.
Fuck you. Fuck you, Philly. Fuck you right in the butt. You can't do that. Why do you need to do that? I love Kenny Gainwell coming into this draft. He was going to be my sleeper. I was going to be like on this specific podcast. I'm not even the one
No,
drinking.
we're still in Eastern.
I'm not even the one drinking tonight.
If we were in Pacific, we'd have a lot more time to do
I
this.
was going to be beating the Kenny Gainwell drum tonight. But know what I'm doing? I'm putting Kenny Gainwell into a gum wrapper, and I'm throwing him in the trash. Because he's not going to be relevant until something happens to Miles Sanders. He went to the worst spot out of all these running backs that are on the list. Easily the worst spot. I needed to get it out of the way. That's my little rant. We'll go actually to our number 5 running back is Trey Sherman, who immediate impact, not as high, in my opinion. He got drafted by the 49ers. The 49ers have Raheem Moster, who does get hurt quite a bit, but when he's healthy,
How many teams has he been on already?
I know, but when he plays, he's electric, and he fits that scheme so.
You only
well.
have to lose that job once.
True, and then
if Trey Sherman does what I think Trey Sherman will do, you only have to lose that job once.
Right, but Raheem Moster has to lose it, and then Jeff Wilson Jr. has to lose it.
I don't think Jeff Wilson Jr. has to lose it. I think Jeff Wilson Jr. already lost it. I think as soon as they drafted that, he lost it. He's been a depth player for them, and I don't think much of that changes here.
As far as
he's also always hurt. Look at the two of them went back and forth for who's going to get hurt the most, and they were on running back 7.
It was my fun game. It was a fun game to play. Like which 49er
I think they got hurt the same week, didn't they?
I think so.
And then they came back, and then they got hurt again the same week. So
as it stands right now, Raheem Moster is the RB1 in San Francisco, and as he should be. Like I said, when he's on the field, he's the best running back on the field. He's fast. He has good vision. He can catch the football all right. Pass blocking, a little bit to be desired, but they don't ask him to do that. They ask him to take the ball and run really fast, and he is very good at running really fast. And he's pretty elusive, too. He's a good running back. It's just the health concerns. And like you said...
When did he succeed the most? Here's my question. When did he succeed the most?
When he got the football.
When Tevin Coleman was the RB1.
Right. Well, no. He took over for Tevin Coleman.
Right, but that's what he started. He was that split back. He was timeshare back. He did not last on the field being the everyday back, and he has not lasted on the field anywhere. Right. So you may be high on him for what he has done, but I look at what Kyle Shanahan did in this draft, and it reminds me of Jacksonville. Yeah. Take your quarterback, take your running back, make your team, go forward. Because Kyle Shanahan is about a snap of a finger away from losing his job also. For everything that's good that he's done, he only has one winning season.
Mm-hmm. And a below-average quarterback that he traded.
And he's got to jump into the NFC West.
Yeah.
Which, for everything of what it was bad before,
it's the best division of football.
It's not anymore. So
there's no weak team in that division.
No,
there's not. Like you used to be able to say, "Hey, the Cardinals suck." Not anymore.
The Rams suck. The Cardinals suck. One of those teams always sucked. Now the 49ers suck. And the 49ers should not suck. Look at their team. There's no reason that you look at that division and go, the 49ers suck. And for the last year, you went the 49ers. And then you went, oh, well, their quarterback's hurt.
And their whole defense.
Jimmy Garoppolo ain't that great anyway.
No, he's not. Nick Collins was playing better than Jimmy Garoppolo was.
Right. So you got to look, and the changing of the guard season is coming. It's building up to it.
100%.
And I think they're going to see what Trey Sherman has. So I bump him up because I think he takes that job.
Right. I have
I
Trey
think
Sherman higher than you do, and I think I have Trey Sherman too low right now.
you have most running backs 2 spots ahead of me.
Yeah, because I have more of an emphasis on running backs, even though they're not like in a production standpoint. It's just because, like you said, they're one injury away from being more fantasy relevant than a wide receiver is, in my opinion.
For me, the reason that I move them down a little bit, it's just because there's no longevity in the running back position.
There isn't, but the value of running backs in fantasy football leagues, even dynasty leagues, is high.
Even because there's so much turnover.
Right.
There's so much turnover.
And if you can get those running backs that stay on those teams and you know they're going to be their RB1 unquestioned year in and year out, like your Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley's, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones now in Green Bay since he got paid. Like, if you can get your hands on those guys in dynasty leagues, they have huge value to them because...
But even look at what you just named. 2 of those players didn't play last year.
Right. Saquon
One
Barkley,
of those players hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley. That's what I'm saying. Like,
so his value is through the roof. He was drafted. He was the downhand 1-1. He was 1-1 in regular drafts 100%. That year. He's in the first round every single year.
It was just like when
on the field.
He was more highly regarded in fantasy leagues than Adrian Peterson was when Peterson came out of Oklahoma, which is saying something because Peterson, when he came out of the gates, was one of the best fantasy football running backs from the get-go. And he was very high. Like, Saquon Barkley is a great running back. He just needs to stay healthy, and I think that's partially the Giants' fault. For him,
it's definitely Giants' fault. No one on the team can stay healthy.
Yeah, it's the way.
It's harder to name a player on that team that has played the entire season than to name 10 that have not.
Right.
So if you're looking at what are we doing? Well, we're dying is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone on the offense I think their entire offense missed a game last year.
Right. Not surprised.
Quarterback, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back.
Mm-hmm.
So stay healthy. Easier said than done. Get an offensive line would be the better idea.
Are you sure
Evan Ingram? Evan Ingram.
Are you sure Evan Ingram missed the game, or are you sure he just didn't miss a catch?
He may have missed both.
Hey, Pro Bowl tight end though.
Might have a better chance of making the catch on the bench. So
true. Got anyone else you want to talk about running back? Oh, I do. I do actually. Ramondre Stevenson. Don't draft him. You want to know why? He got drafted by the Patriots. Don't draft him. Patriot running backs do not draft until you know you can't. You can't draft the Patriots running back until you see week 1, and then you'll. And yet,
someone left him on their list.
I did leave him on my list because this list is gross. Because he does have the LeGarrette Blount stature to him.
I bumped up Chuba Hubbard into my spot where I knocked Stevenson out of, and that's because I think Hubbard has a good chance for touches. I don't like him as a.
I like his name.
I don't know, like his name, yeah, but his attitude sucks. The way he acted last year sucked. A lot of people have questioned who he is as a player.
Right.
But those are the types of players that put their foot down and sometimes prove you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he snuck into my rankings. I think he's going to drop off the drafted list as well. And I always think that there's a chance for success when you drop off the rankings. And that's why he's there for me, because as terrible as that landing spot is.
Oh, behind Christian McCaffrey?
Christian McCaffrey has to stay healthy for me this year. And that's running back injuries tend to continue. Right. They tend to rear their head back up again. Derailed Todd Gurley's career. Derailing currently Saquon Barkley's career. So
it's so unfortunate. It's Christian McCaffrey. He gets hurt. Chuba Hubbard moves immediately into an RB1 discussion.
Mike Davis moved into an RB1 discussion.
Exactly.
Mike Davis is 30-something years old.
And he's not there anymore.
He's the RB1 of Atlanta, taking over for Todd Gurley.
Gross. That's one team I was expecting to draft a running back that didn't. Like, what are you doing? Why couldn't you draft freaking Kenny Gainwell?
Kenny Gainwell.
Why couldn't you draft him? My God, man, I had an argument for Kenny Gainwell all playing on my head. Like, y'all saw what Antonio Gibson did last year, right? You know why Antonio Gibson only got 35 touches? Kenny fucking Gainwell. That's why. And where does he go? Philly! Okay, I'm done. We're moving on to wide receivers.
All right. Seems fair.
Wide receiver 1. If you don't know who it is, please check your fantasy football knowledge for me. It's Jamar Chase. It's Jamar Chase, and it's Jamar Chase. One of the best wide receiver prospects we've had coming out in quite some time, in my opinion. But he doesn't exactly go to a spot where he's going to immediately be super fantasy relevant. He's going to be fantasy relevant this year. I think he's going to be a flex play. He goes to Cincinnati, pairs back up with his homeboy Joe Burrow. So if you have Joe Burrow in your leagues, this is good for you. If you have T. Higgins in your leagues, this isn't that great for you. Tyler Boyd doesn't really affect you. So now this Bengals offense kind of looking a little dangerous, in my opinion. They drafted a offensive lineman in the second round, a tackle. So they addressed helping Burrow on the offensive line. And I think that also helps them establish the run with Joe Mixon. They can establish the run with Joe Mixon. I think with the addition of Jamar Chase to go with T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and I guess Thaddeus Moss is going to be their tight end. Maybe. Who knows? And Joe Burrow is on track for week 1 from what I've been reading. I think this Bengals offense can be significantly improved from last year. And that's why I think Jamar Chase is number 1. Over time, he's going to be the number 1 option on that team because of his sheer talent. So he's number 3 overall for me, number 3 overall for Pat, number 1 wide receiver for me, number 1 wide receiver for Pat.
He almost dropped
behind Devonta.
He almost dropped. Very crowded offense. That offense, for all it's gotten better this year, was fantasy relevant last year. And Tyler Boyd, very strong, very, very strong. They had no running back, so they had to throw the ball all the time. They had no offensive line, so Joe Burrow had to throw the ball very quickly all the time. Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow was putting up 30, 40-point games. Tyler Boyd was there. T. Higgins was putting up. They were both putting up 25-point. They were both starters. They were both starting wide receivers, not even a wide receiver and a flex. They were both starting wide receivers. So does Jamar Chase instantly overtake all of those fantasy points? Probably some of them.
Mainly from T. Higgins, not so much from Tyler Boyd.
My reference point for this, which kind of is what knocked Jamar Chase down for me, was the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they had when they had the 3 extremely strong wide receivers. The beneficiary usually in that situation is your flex wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And that's where it gets a little murky. I really like T. Higgins, speed-wise, overall player-wise. I do think Jamar Chase puts up extremely relevant fantasy numbers this year. I think Devonta Smith got the better landing spot.
Agreed. He's got the more direct route to fantasy points from the get-go.
He also has the experience with Jalen Hurts. That's his name. We're getting there. I'm forgetting everyone's name today. He's got that experience with him from Alabama, and I think that does come back to mean something. I know they both didn't play together a whole lot, but they were there together a whole lot. And when it comes to Alabama, that's all you need.
Familiarity is huge.
Right. Devonta Smith moved up significantly for me. I had him low when my first rankings came out. I think his landing spot did the most for me out of all of them. He's got the smaller body, which is what frightens me. He doesn't have that.
So does Calvin Ridley, though.
He doesn't have that Jamar Chase build. Chase checks all those boxes.
But Calvin Ridley doesn't have a big build either, and we see what he's doing in Atlanta.
Right. So I do think Devonta Smith is up there. The wide receiver one for me is still Jamar Chase, but it's not as clear-cut as it was for me before the players were drafted. I kind of figured Jamar Chase was going to Cincy. There was talk about taking an offensive lineman, but the ownership and everyone was still talking about how the draft was deep for offensive line, and they didn't care. And everything about that said Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase. And
I would have preferred Kyle Pitts for them, but obviously they didn't get a chance to draft Kyle Pitts.
And that's what it is. As soon as they lost the opportunity for that, it was going to be Jamar Chase. And reuniting him with Burrow, I know he sat out a year, so does he have to work off the rust and the cobwebs the first couple of games? Maybe. But I think that's worked off quicker than a Dynasty football league's going to bother you for.
Yeah, and getting off the cobwebs and stuff like that, familiarity with this quarterback will really help with that, because Burrow still knows he's going to be like, okay, he's going to be here when I go to throw the ball. I know where he's going to be. He's going to Chase is going to know Burrow's going to put the ball here on this route. I know where it's going. It's going to help him. And the other thing that I know he hasn't been fantasy relevant in a couple of years, but AJ Green's not in Cincinnati anymore. That's 104 targets from last year that are gone. I'm not saying they're all going to go to Jamar Chase, but he could get 80 plus targets this year in a rookie season. That's a lot. Again, I don't think he's going to be like Justin Jefferson last year or Odell Beckham Jr. when Odell Beckham Jr. came out. Not a lot of people are. Like I said, I think Jamar Chase finishes the year as a flex option, though. I think all three wide receivers in Cincinnati can wind up being fantasy relevant, which is great for Cincinnati, because I haven't been able to talk about Cincinnati for fantasy prospects aside from Joe Mixon recently.
Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, and Tyler Boyd was like hit or miss until he was also another one that depended on the quarterback.
Oh, Joe Burrow changed that entire offense.
He did, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And since we already started talking about Devonta Smith, drafted by the Eagles traded up to get him, so they got their man. They jumped over the Giants to get him, because the Giants were going to grab him. So, yeah, they jumped up. They made the trade with the Cowboys. If you have to make a trade with your division rival to get someone, that means you really want that player, which means I think they're going to give him the football. He
traded with one division rival to jump over another division rival.
Right. He slides in as their wide receiver one.
Instantly.
It's not
instantly.
It's not going to be anybody on that roster right now.
Not a chance.
Who was catching balls at the end of the year? What's that guy's name?
Jalen Reagor?
No, not Rager. The guy that used to play quarterback, I think. Greg Ward.
Oh yeah, right.
Greg Ward was the one catching like 10 balls a game last year at the end of the year. And what was the rookie last year? See, that's the thing, that we can't even think of the names of these players.
Whiteside.
No, not Arcega Whiteside.
No. Who was there?
Fulgham, Travis Fulgham.
Oh yeah, he
remember that?
Also.
Remember, because
that 2 weeks he was really super fantasy relevant.
And then Berman tried trading him to everyone in the league because he's like, I gotta jump on the opportunity. But
smart move.
He's gonna move into He's moving into wide receiver one. I'm not 100% sold on Jalen Hurts as a quarterback yet.
I'm a big fan.
I think he's good. I think he's good. Don't get me wrong, but am I sold on him as a passer? Not fully. That game against the Cardinals was fun to watch, though, last year, and that's what he can bring to the table. And Smith's going to help tremendously. I think what they need to do in Philly is they need to move on from Zach Ertz, stop putting him on the field, get him traded to the Colts. And
they've done a lot of the legwork in that already. So
yeah,
it doesn't really surprise me that no one's going out of their way to go pick him up. What he was is great. What he is now isn't. So it doesn't really surprise me that no one's jumping out to come get him.
Right.
And the Eagles, I guess, don't really have a necessity to trade him. They really would depend on what you could get for him.
If they can get a fourth-round pick for him, I'd make the move.
The thing is, Zach Ertz wants to move on, and that's I think the biggest part, when the player wants to move on, when the team wants to move on from the player, and when you still haven't moved him yet. Now, I don't know how his contract works and everything like that. I know there's a lot of June 1st contracts that hit the books, and you have to wait till after that to make moves. So maybe that's the situation here.
Julio Jones.
Can't wait to see what happens with that. Aaron Rodgers. So there are several. The June 1st date is going to be big because everything could be completely quiet, and then June 2nd, there could be 8 trades that shake up the entire NFL. So
yeah,
we'll see where we get from there. But I do see them moving on from Zach Ertz this year.
which I think they
Dallas
should do.
Dallas Goedert had his little outbreak when he had the opportunity to do it. Then he got hurt, but I think they'll run with it. And then you still have those wide receivers out there. So where does it factor in? I think the Eagles are a better team. That division, again, besides Washington, none of the defenses jump off the page for me.
Nope.
I know Dallas did a lot of work in the draft. So obviously we have to see where that pans out. I think they had 7 picks and they took all defensive players. So
surprising.
Their defense could be, they did something that was smart, which is different for Dallas.
They took the best defensive player in the draft, Micah Parsons, or I think Parsons is the best defensive player in the draft. Overall.
I could live with that.
Overall.
I could live with that.
And then I had Surtain as number 2, but
I had JC Horn as number 2. But
because you're a homer.
You know why?
Because you're a homer.
Hey, life is what it is. Life is what it is.
It is what it is.
The NFL scouts agree with me when they drafted him first. So that we'll see where that defense goes. The Giants they're the Giants. Whatever. So I think there's a lot of chance for offense in that division.
The worst division of football.
Which makes it the most competitive one. Hey, what's up?
What did
and usually produces a lot of high scoring games, and that's what happens when you look at why is Dak Prescott so fantasy relevant. He's a decent quarterback, but he's going to put up 50 points a game because they have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
The other team's going to put up 50 points a game. So you're just throwing. So does the Eagles defense strike me as the type of defense that's going to hold other teams under 25? No, they don't. Nope. So what are you going to do on offense? You're going to throw the ball. You're going to have to throw the ball, which I think is one of the main reasons they brought in Kenny Gainwell is to give them a second running back option, give them some depth at that position that they don't have. But it's also a main reason they brought in another running back, another wide receiver. Mm-hmm. They needed a wide receiver that could do it all. And that's what Devonta Smith is for me. He's up there.
He's a very talented wide receiver.
He's my 4 for a reason. And he's right behind Jamar Chase. I'd like to see how they get used, but I think it's going to be closer based off of the fact that Devonta is number 1 and Jamar Chase is 1C. Mm-hmm. 1B. 1B.
Yeah.
He'll move up to B. Tyler Boyd will be 1A and T. Higgins will be 1C. So it's going to be interesting to see how the touches break out in those offenses.
Yeah, those 2 wide receivers are exciting for me. We're going to move on to wide receiver 3s here. My wide receiver 3, I did not have him as wide receiver 3 going into the draft. I had him a lot lower on my board. And it's not just because I'm a homer. It's a little bit because I'm a homer. It's a little bit. But even Pat will agree with me on this, that Elijah Moore going to the Jets was a wonderful pick. I stood up and clapped when the Jets made that pick. I did not expect them to make that pick. I expected them to draft Javonte Williams with that pick. But they drafted not Michael Carter, sorry. I'm looking at, I saw green. It's Elijah Moore. That's who my wide receiver 3 is. Pat's wide receiver 3 is Jalen Waddle, who is my wide receiver 4. They're right next to each other on mine. They're interchangeable. So we could talk about Waddle first. I'll let you address Waddle, and I'll take Moore.
He's going back to Tua.
Yep.
It's easy for me. It's easy for me. He's going back to Tua. I think he was the best Alabama wide receiver last year, but he was hurt. Mm-hmm. I don't see Devonta Smith winning the Heisman. I don't see Devonta Smith being as hyped as he is right now if Jalen Waddle doesn't get hurt. And Jalen Waddle's injury wasn't one that's going to affect him, as he showed in the national championship game when he went out there and played. He's got the heart. He's got the desire. He wants to win, and he's going back to Tua.
Yep.
And in a team that is on the rise,
Let's
call it that.
They have a great defense. They have another good wide receiver in Devonta Parker. They have a above average tight end, Mike Gesicki. Their running backs leave a little bit to be desired, but Myles Gaskin and
just leaves more touches for the wide receivers.
Exactly. And Jalen Waddle's a good wide receiver. Like I think I told you one night when you guys were at your bowling league that I had Jalen Waddle ahead of Devonta Smith in some instances because Jalen Waddle is, like you said, he was the best Alabama wide receiver, but because of an injury, that's why he dropped. If it weren't for that, Jalen Waddle probably would have been considered for the Dolphins at pick 6 or considered for other teams. He was pick 6 for them. You're right. But I feel like he would have been considered for other teams higher up. Like, I think other teams would have been more like up to moving up to getting him. I don't think the Eagles would have traded out of 6 if Waddle played all last year, because I think Waddle would have been their more.
No, I think they should have stayed there for Waddle, which didn't really make any sense for me. But you also have to look, and it's one of those things you always talk about, draft capital. Mm-hmm. Who was drafted first? Jalen Waddle was drafted first. So you're sitting there, you're Miami, you have Tua. Tua played with both of these guys. And you looked at Tua. Yep. You had to look at Tua. I hope otherwise we're going to have another situation that we had in Houston.
Yep.
You looked at Tua and you said, pick one. You said, we're going to give you a wide receiver. Pick one.
And he said
he went and said, give me Jalen Waddle. Otherwise, they didn't ask him, and they're idiots. So those are the two options, and I believe, for now at least, that they asked him and that he picked Jalen Waddle. So that's a bump for Jalen Waddle.
Right.
That familiarity. Devonta Parker is a great wide receiver who is going to draw defenses, who is going to draw coverage. Mike Gesicki opens up the entire inside of that field. They don't really have a running game at all.
No, they don't. Myles Gaskin.
Myles Gaskin. As much as I think you should be good, but you're just not.
Because it's Miami.
Every time you disappoint me.
Miami doesn't really produce.
Myles Gaskin is on like 3 of my fantasy teams, especially in Dynasty, and every year I just get mad at him.
Yep.
He should be so much better.
I get
God,
it.
It's depressing.
And if you guys are listening and asking, if you guys like Jalen Waddle so much, and he got drafted ahead of Devonta Smith, why is he so far down on your boards? And I'll give you a very easy reason why. I don't like Tua. I don't think Tua is a good quarterback. He's good enough to be an NFL quarterback, so that makes him good. Do I think he's going to be a great quarterback? No. I don't think he's good. I don't believe in Tua. Believe me, if Ryan Fitzpatrick was still in Miami and Ryan Fitzpatrick was the starting quarterback in Miami, Jalen Waddle might be my wide receiver 1.
2. But I can see it.
You know what I'm saying? But you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. He wouldn't be behind Elijah Moore for me.
No.
There's no way.
He probably still should have.
I just don't think Tua. I don't think Tua's.
It's a mix for me. I agree with you. I don't think Tua's going to really put up those quarterback numbers that you see. I don't. Now, granted, if you don't have a running game, he's going to have to do something. They're going to have to hand the ball at some point and be like, "Listen, dude, throw the ball. Someone's got to catch it. We gave you defense. Go.
We can't keep running screens. We can't keep running screens too. I need you to throw the ball down the field."
Tua's biggest drawback for me is that he doesn't find tight ends. If you look at, and I am a Mike Gesicki. He's big. Yeah, I am. And he's drafted in most of my leagues where I can get him. If you look at the difference he had in touches and production between Fitzpatrick and Tua, it's outrageous. Tua just doesn't look for him. And if you're not looking in the middle of the field, the team's nowhere to tee off. And that's it. If you're teeing off on your 2 outside wide receivers because you're not looking in the middle of the field, and then your offensive line isn't protecting you long enough for you to actually look to your 3rd option in the middle of the field, you're getting hit. And that's what Tua did every single game. And that's why even when Tua started, Fitzpatrick was in by the third quarter of every single game.
Yep. Because they couldn't trust him to close out the game.
Look at what he did when they played Las Vegas. They pulled Tua out, and Fitzpatrick led an entire comeback because he just looked. Yeah, that's with his face getting ripped off. 4 touchdowns in 5 plays, I think it was. So that's Tua gets knocked down. Tua knocks down Waddle. Plus, there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense for someone who's not going to be able to feed a lot of mouths.
Which is so weird to talk about Miami
and that's a big knockdown also. So, and Miami is one of those teams that I was looking at in the Deshaun Watson saga.
They get Deshaun Watson, Jalen Waddle moves up.
Oh yeah, the whole offense moves up. That whole team moves up.
Plain and simple.
Team becomes a competitor in that division, which you shouldn't really say because Buffalo should run away with that division. But Miami's defense can hold enough people in check. When it comes to Elijah Moore, and obviously I'll bounce this back over to you, but that just becomes it's an entire team of rookies at this point, and it's a rebuilding half decade. I don't know where they are right now, but I think they're in like year 2, year 3. So you got 2 more years probably of building up. You have strong competition, as we've already discussed, and the strong competition is on the outside. So that's what knocked him down for me. What moved him up for you?
Elijah Moore. I don't think he's going to be playing on the outside. I think the Jets are going to move on from Jamison Crowder, whether it's before the beginning of the season, during the season, somewhere. The Jets are going to be getting rid of Jamison Crowder. If they cut him now, they save $10 million. There's this shiny cornerback on the market. His name is Steven Nelson. He got cut by the Steelers, who I would love to come in for on a 1-year contract to help shore up the secondary for the Jets. And they can do that by cutting Crowder. If they cut Crowder, Moore immediately moves into the slot wide receiver position. And in a Kyle Shanahan offense, I would look to compare his production to that of Deebo Samuel's his rookie year. I don't think it's going to be as big. It's going to be the same type of plays that Deebo was getting. Deebo wasn't just getting catches. He was getting reverses. He was getting the ball out of the backfield as running back too in some instances. I think that's how Elijah Moore is going to be getting used in this Jets offense, but I think he is going to have better durability than Deebo Samuel did. Elijah Moore should have been a first-round draft pick, in my opinion. I thought he was a better wide receiver than Kadarius Toney. To be honest with you, I just didn't think he was going to go to a good spot. But I love Elijah Moore. I love the pick for the Jets. I literally stood up in my living room, right here, this living room, and applauded the Jets making this pick. I'm not used to saying that about Jets draft picks. I'm truly excited for Elijah Moore. I think over time he is going to be a good wide receiver. The Jets wide receivers are not awful anymore. They're not great. I think Denzel Mims is going to be a above average wide receiver in this league because of his size. He's going to be comparable to Kenny Golladay, not as good as Kenny Golladay, hopefully more healthy than Kenny Golladay. Corey Davis ain't bad. And then you have Elijah Moore out of the slot. Like I said, it's going to be the gadget plays that give him fantasy relevancy. And the fact that he's going to be in the slot, I think.
I could see it. I worry about pretty much everything that you pointed out with the other receivers that play those positions. They get hurt a lot. That's their thing. Gadget players get hurt a lot more than non-gadget players because you're doing so much. You're going into different positions. You're making different cuts that you don't usually make. You're doing things that you don't usually do as a wide receiver. And they're very good at them. And that's what makes them so dangerous. But they tend to get hurt. I do think Crowder's gone. It makes sense to save the money. I don't know if spending it on a 1-year contract makes sense for the Jets.
Well, what else are they going to do with it? Spend on the 1-year contract, you get it back at the end of the year.
Put it in your pocket. Keep it. It's awesome. They like it. So you just put different pockets. get bigger bills. Anyway, um,
Okay.
maybe they'll pay a training staff. They could get a tight end. You have one of those? Chris Herndon doesn't count. Don't say him. Name your other tight ends. No, they suck. You're right. Good point.
Tim
They're
Tebow?
terrible.
Tim Tebow was on the roster at one point, right? But he refused to play tight end for us then.
Plays for the Jags. Stop it. So
He
there's
plays for the Jags. Okay.
he'll get one snap. Tebow time. You can't sell a shirt if he doesn't get a snap. So come on, he's got to get one snap. It's going to be interesting.
The Jets' offense is going to be intriguing this year, to say the least.
And again, it's not this year necessarily that makes all the difference. So where are they in 3 years?
Is Zach Wilson who the Jets think he is? Because if you have a wide receiver with a quarterback who is the number 2 overall pick in the draft, if you have a wide receiver that's been playing with him since he got in the league as the number 2 overall pick, he's got to have some type of connection to the guy. He's got to have some type of rapport with him.
As I always say, when it is the Jets, it's still the Jets. So that's why he gets knocked down for me, because until it's not the Jets, as I said probably twice in this podcast already, it's still the Jets.
I'm optimistic.
That's okay. I am cautiously optimistic as well. That's why I've been talking about their offense so much and their ability to have fantasy relevant players. So making a whole bunch of changes, just like I think Jacksonville did, just like several teams did when they changed into fantasy relevant teams. That's what you got to do. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals, went from nothing to fantasy relevant in a year. Mm-hmm. Is that something the Jets can do? Yes. But until you put the pen to the paper, I think he's still, for me, and he got bumped up a lot in my rankings also when he went to the Jets. But for me, he's still right in that mid-range of I'm not going out reaching for him. If he falls in the right spot, I'll take him.
Look, if you're in a rookie draft and you're sitting at the end of it, if you're in picks like 9 through 12 in the first round, all the big names are gone. You're not going to get Naji Harris there. You're not going to get Jamar Chase. You're not going to get Kyle Pitts. You're not going to get Jalen Waddle. Javonte Williams shouldn't be there. ETN shouldn't be there. That's where I'd be comfortable reaching for Elijah Moore in that range at the end of the first round. I'm not saying at pick 3 you go ahead and draft Elijah Moore. I'm saying at the end of the first round you want to throw a flyer out. He's not a bad one to throw a flyer out, in my opinion. And also another thing with the Jets is their defense has improved this year. Their defense is going to help keep them in games longer. They signed Carl Lawson, underrated pass rusher in the NFL, number 1 in QB pressures last year. He didn't have a high sack total because he goes up against Lamar Jackson and Ben Roethlisberger, who are incredibly hard to sack. So, they get C.J. Mosley back, who they didn't have the past 2 years. 2 years ago because he got hurt, and then last year because he opted out for COVID. They still have Marcus May and they're trying to get him on a contract extension. So their defense really isn't that bad.
You trying to make me draft Elijah Moore or the Jets defense? Which one are you trying to get me to take? Because I'm not taking the Jets defense in the first round.
No. What I'm saying is the Jets defense is going to make them more competitive, and I truly believe a winning culture brings up the morale of players and makes them play better. Like, garbage time is great and all. Don't get me wrong. I love garbage time in fantasy football.
Chris Thompson.
Oh, my God.
Where is he?
Chris,
get him back.
Thompson. Chris Thompson, Blake Bortles. Love garbage time.
How do you get 15 points a game? You play 5 snaps. Great.
I just think people need to be prepared for a Jets team that's going to be different. Are they going to have a high win total? No. Are they going to be competitive most weeks? I think so. Do I still think they'll have a top 5 pick in next year's draft? Yeah. But I don't think they're going to be getting blown out week in and week out. I think they're going to be a lot more competitive, except for the games where they go up against like the Bills, because the Bills, and they're scary. But we do have more discrepancies in our wide receivers. For me, ranking the wide receivers, it's just after Jamar Chase and Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle, and for me, Elijah Moore, it just kind of gets messy because you don't know what's going to happen. It's all a bunch of if this player can do this, then this player can do that. Like Rashad Bateman. I loved Rashad Bateman coming out. great looking wide receiver, goes to the Baltimore Ravens.
I love it. He
I
flew up my draft board.
I don't
He flew up, and Tylan Wallace moved up
also
slightly.
also went to the
Also, both of the Ravens.
right. I there's still Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown's not a volume receiver. He's a big play receiver, but it's still Lamar Jackson throwing the football.
But the thing is, for me, if you look at year 1 Lamar versus year 2 Lamar, what was he missing?
A wide receiver.
He didn't have any. Yeah, he didn't have any wide receiver play. He didn't have any wide receivers to worry about. He was all running.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, he looked like a running back because he had nothing else to do. If you put in 2 big body wide receivers who can make plays, what are you going to get? And I like what you get. You get the field opening up more, and that's going to open up more Lamar Jackson. And when they bite down on Lamar Jackson, you get more stuff over the top. They added Des Bryant last year. That's how desperate they were for wide receivers. Come on. You can't be that desperate. You can't be.
Look, I agree with you. I agree.
Come
It's
on.
just, I'm not sold still on Lamar as a consistent passer. Even when he was playing his MVP season, he wasn't that accurate with the football.
Accuracy and total attempts are 2 completely different things. I'm not drafting Lamar Jackson. I'm saying you're going to have defenses biting down on the line of scrimmage. You're going to have – you've got Lamar to run. You got J.K. to run. So you're going to have a lot of selling out. And what does that open up? The backfield. So
but I get
where
it.
do you –
I believe me, I get it. I just prove me wrong at this point with him. That's where I'm at. And I have Lamar Jackson in one of my Dynasty leagues. Please prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong, because it's because of your poor play that I had a terrible season and I lost in the championship game. Although you tried your best to help me win. But please prove me wrong, Lamar. Please prove to me that you can pass the ball better than you did. And until he does that, I can't feel good about Rashad Bateman. Personally.
I'm okay with that. I have him. I actually have 2 more people above Elijah Moore in my rankings.
Rondale Moore.
There's him and Rondale Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fit in the Cardinals for Rondale Moore.
Yeah, I got to move Rondale Moore up.
They've been missing that second guy.
They tried with Christian Kirk.
They've tried it with so many different people. They've tried and tried and tried. And I think they may have finally gotten it. What he did in Purdue was fantastic. And I think he was one of the better picks. And I think as far as sustainability, again, I look at they're a young team, but so if the Jets are in stage 1, the Cardinals are in stage 3, and you're taking Elijah Moore, renaming his first name, and putting him in stage 3 of an offense.
Yep.
So how quickly he gets on the same page with Kyler is obviously going to be a big thing, but Cliff Kingsbury, he's going to throw the ball 50 times a game. So who's going to make the catches? You put Rondale Moore in there opposite DeAndre Hopkins, who's getting doubled, tripled, watched by the safety, covered by a linebacker. They'll do everything to cover DeAndre Hopkins, and he'll still go up and catch the ball surrounded by 5 of you. So clearly that makes no difference. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to open up the field for a player like Rondale Moore. I think that's something you can see long-term sustainability. He's the guy in the back end of round 1 that I'm looking for.
Right. And I like I said, I got to move Rondale Moore up on my list. One of the big things that is going to help that Cardinals offense is having that wide receiver 2 that they desperately needed. Christian Kirk was too home run or bust to have that. You don't need another DeAndre Hopkins, but you need another one that can, like you said, take that double team away for D-Hop. You got to help out DeAndre Hopkins because your offense is running through him. It's always going to run through D-Hop. And so in order to do that, Rondale Moore fits the bill. If you can't double team D-Hop, if Rondale Moore is threatening you on the other side of the field, it helps everybody on that offense that Rondale Moore went to the Cardinals. It bumps up Kyler Murray. It bumps up, in my opinion, Chase Edmonds because it'll help open up the running lanes because I don't think James Conner's in the running back one there. I think Chase Edmonds is going to get his shot at it. It's going to help.
He proved he deserved
Hopkins.
it for the last 2 years.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to help DeAndre Hopkins. It's going to help Rondale Moore. It's a great landing spot for him. He's going to a good quarterback. He's going to a very high-profile offense, a very high-pace, fast-moving offense. I like it. I don't disagree with you on him at all. I want to talk about Kadarius Toney real quick. We both had him pretty high going into the draft, and we both have him at the same overall spot after the draft. We talked about this off air. I hate the landing spot.
Great talent, great potential. Terrible spot.
He goes to a team that just spent all the money on the number one wide receiver on the free agent market. Yes, Kenny Golladay has his injury issues. Yes, so does Sterling Shepard. But now you have Kadarius Toney going to a spot where he is the wide receiver 4 at best. And then at that point, he's the 5th
behind Ingram.
Yeah. Option. No, you got Saquon Barkley's even ahead of him.
Yeah. Well, that would make him 6th.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. He's right now he's 6th. And that's not a good spot to be in.
Because you got Golladay on one side, you got Slayton on the other side, you got Sterling Shepard, and then you got Evan Ingram at tight end, you got Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. Where the hell are you using Kadarius Toney?
And you got on top of that your quarterback can run. So
yeah, what are you doing?
he's his own guy. So
the Giants had a bigger need than a wide receiver at that point. Take an offensive lineman. Do something to help protect Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. But I think Kadarius Toney would have been a better fit on a different team, obviously. Being the 6th option on an offense that's not exactly the best passing offense as it is not good for fantasy value. He's not at the bottom of my list because there is potential for him to move up in that offense. Like if Sterling Shepard leaves, if the other guy
Sterling Shepard's his biggest.
If Darius Slayton,
that's where he plays. He plays that inside middle where Ingram and Shepard are all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, Slayton's just your bomb guy. So that is what it is.
Whichever offense needs a guy to take off the top. So
and you got to see how the entire Giants team is always hurt. So, but I mean, if you're always hurt, then what good does that do this guy? Maybe he gets hurt also. We don't really know. Mm-hmm. I hated the spot. I really thought Tony's up there and Vegas Droppers right next to Kenny Gainwell. The two of them just had
all the potential
pre-draft looks and just went to awful spots. Now, in a year, 2 years, does that change? Maybe. Is that going to make me draft Kadarius Toney? No, it's not. It'll make me put him on my watch list. It'll make me keep a close eye on what the Giants do. Mm-hmm. Let's see where Sterling Shepard goes. Let's see how many snaps Kenny Golladay plays in a game. See if he lives through. What do you get? A 3-4 year contract? Whatever. Let's see if he lives through life in a Giants uniform. No one else has.
No.
Golden Tate didn't. Sterling Shepard didn't.
Odell Beckham didn't.
Saquon Barkley's not living. Yeah, Odell Beckham didn't. So, is there a lot of turnover in that team? Yeah. Why? Because they keep drafting people like Kadarius Toney instead of taking offensive linemen and protecting their team.
Right.
So, they have a lot of other stuff they need to work on. He gets dropped.
Oh, tremendously.
Like he may be ranked there because I have him ranked for overall feel. But if you had to say, hey, you're drafting right now, Tylan Wallace, who's for me ranked below Kadarius Toney, I'm taking Tylan Wallace.
Right. The only way I can say go ahead and draft someone like Kenny Gainwell or Kadarius Toney is if you're in a situation similar to me in Pat's league. I have a very good core roster on that Dynasty team. Nobody I'm drafting this year is going to overtake anybody immediately in that roster as a starting. So I also don't have a first round pick in that league because I trade them during the season because I like to win. So I'm picking at the back end of the second round. These guys are sitting there. Okay, speculative ad for me to keep on my bench. Miles Sanders gets hurt. I'm good. Sterling Shepard gets hurt, which he does every year. I might be good. That's the only way I can justify taking these guys in a draft if you already have an established roster, I feel like.
The other thing is the same thing we talked about with Davis Mills. Do you own Miles Sanders?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is your roster good enough? Are you at the back end of your draft and you're like, well, what happens if I lose my running back one? All right, take Kenny Gainwell. Take your handcuff. They're two of the handcuffs that I could see making a difference. They're the Kenny Gainwell's the Latavius Murray role. He's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
do almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But the second there's an injury up top, watch out.
Yep.
The top's coming off. And the top came off when Miles Sanders got injured last year. And for the life of me, can't even remember the name of the backup running back who went off waiver wires at number 1 and took 2 weeks and just exploded. For the life of me, cannot remember him.
Yep. I don't know. We're having a hard time with this tonight.
Well, listen, I don't work at ESPN. I work here.
Work at
I don't
Verizon.
work here either.
You work at Verizon.
That ain't here either. Boston Scott. There we go. Just had to use Google. Thank God for Google.
Right.
What's up, best friend? Boston Scott became fantasy relevant instantly. Who the hell's Boston Scott? He was no one. He was no one the second that Miles Sanders came back. And so how far does Gainwell move up that pecking order? Does he become that number 2? Is he sitting right behind Sanders waiting for it? If you have Miles, the same way you held on to Boston Scott last year going into the playoffs because you didn't know if Sanders was going to be in there or not, is probably the same way you should be looking at Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah.
And the same way you should be looking at Kadarius Toney. Do you have Sterling Shepard? Is that your wide receiver 2? If it is, trade someone because
Ew.
God, please help
Ew.
yourself.
Ew.
But
Ew.
your team sucks. You've drafted all running backs, or your team is terrible. But if that's like a situation that you're stuck in, that's where Kadarius Toney gets drafted for me. Otherwise, I think he's dropping to waivers pretty simply, without really much of a fight.
Right. I think we need to move on to tight ends because we are running a little long on our inaugural episode. We're getting up on 2 hours here. So
you can edit out all the mistakes you made. It should knock us down to about an hour and a half. And take out that one time I didn't remember the quarterback's name.
Or the running back's name.
Shut up. That was one. We don't care about that one. He was a no one anyway.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now moving on to tight end. And I have never said draft a rookie tight end before in my life. I've never said go ahead and draft Noah Fant. Go ahead and draft TJ Hockenson. But I'm telling you right now, go ahead and draft Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts going to the Atlanta Falcons is as big of a slam dunk for a tight end as there can be. Any arguments?
Yep. Nope.
Nope. There's not much.
My only argument is that I did say to draft TJ Hockenson. I did say to draft Noah Fant.
Not in the first.
Not in the first round. No, Noah Fant went late. TJ Hockenson went pretty early. But he went late first round.
Top 3 picks.
Kyle Pitts is going in the first 3.
He should be
of a rookie draft.
This is the one tight end that will have immediate impact, I think. He's going to an offense that throws the ball a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. And also, now their head coach comes from Tennessee. Who did Tennessee like to use a lot? Jonnu Smith. They're going to use Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is the best tight end prospect ever coming out of the draft.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Like,
okay.
Who else were you talking about in a top 5 pick of his tight end? The last one I could think of is Eric Ebron, and he got picked 12th?
He was up there too. Yeah. No, Kyle Pitts is he's like that when you go into Madden and you change your best wide receiver into a tight end to give yourself an unfair advantage.
I did that.
And yeah, that's what Kyle Pitts is. Mm-hmm. When you watch him play, he's Darren Waller and Travis Kelce rolled up into one. He'll play any spot on the field. It does not matter. He's a matchup nightmare. He's a matchup nightmare.
If you can get him going against a linebacker ain't keeping up with him. You get him going against safety ain't out jumping him. Kyle Pitts is a freak of nature athlete. He is like what LeBron James is in basketball for athleticism wise. It should not be happening for the size that he is, but here we are.
I hate comparisons because you don't really know who someone's going to be in the NFL. But in this case, I'm ready to say Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller. That's the kind of production you should be looking for.
Yeah, like
Um,
imagine Darren Waller, but still somehow better.
yeah,
And that's Kyle Pitts. Darren Waller came out as a wide receiver too, converted to tight end. Kyle Pitts has been playing tight end since he left high school. And he's the only reason why Kyle Trask was even considered for the Heisman this year.
Kadarius Toney has something to say about that also.
Kyle Pitts more so, but he's going to Atlanta. Matt Ryan throws the ball a lot.
Atlanta throws the ball a lot.
A lot.
Nothing but throw the ball. Their starting running backs are Todd Gurley and Mike Davis.
Todd Gurley's not on the team anymore.
Whatever. Where's Todd Gurley?
Free agent.
Did he really fell off completely?
It was a 1 year deal.
Oh man, I'll miss you, Todd Gurley. I'm sure you'll get signed.
And if Atlanta does the stupid thing and trade Julio Jones, well, maybe it's not a stupid thing, but if Atlanta does trade Julio Jones, Kyle Pitts is going to get more targets.
It's just money somewhere.
It's a slam dunk pick, as best as they can be. If you need a tight end, and you're in the top,
which everyone needs it. Yeah, if you don't have Darren Waller or
Travis Kelce,
you're drafting Kyle
Pitts.
Damn it! No, what's the come
George
on?
Kittle?
There you go. See, you knew who I was talking about. Yeah, those are the three. So if you don't have one of those three, that's where
we need this whiteboard, Pat, because I think we're tied now.
Yeah, we're up there. Listen, it's getting late, man. The glass is empty, dude.
Right. So then we'll move on from Kyle Pitts.
We've moved on.
Like we said, draft him.
Where else are you going to move on to?
There's the kid from Penn State.
Oh, good. So you can't pronounce his last name either. We're both going to stare off each other. So one of us makes a mistake.
I really thought you knew how to say it. It's Pat F.
Fearmuth?
Whatever. The kid that went to the
We'll tag him too, and we'll see if he knows how to pronounce his name. That's two people we have to tag to see if they know how to pronounce their own names.
He went to the Steelers. He's not like Kyle Pitts, but he could be good.
It really depends on if they use him the way they used Eric Ebron, or if they used him the way they used who they had, the white dude they had before
Jesse
that.
James?
Was that his name?
I think Jesse James.
They didn't have a different one too. I thought they had two.
Oh, Vance McDonald?
That guy. There you go. So I mean, and they've never had that big name tight end until they signed Ebron. And they tried to throw him the ball, but Ebron had hands that weren't capable of catching a ball. Mm-hmm. So it just went right through. I don't think this guy's going to have that problem. He seems to have good hands, which in the Pittsburgh offense is
he's going to get a lot of playing time.
Different, very different.
He's going to get a lot of playing time, too, because if I remember correctly, he's a pretty good run blocker, too.
He is. He
is. He's going to be on the field a lot. If he can
run
block. Because they lost Alejandro Villanueva.
You do still have Ebron on the roster, though. And that becomes a situation of, does he come in to run block and secondarily catch, or does he come into play? And if you double tight end, obviously the one on the outside is usually the one that you're throwing to, and that's probably going to be Ebron. Does it take long for him to take over the catching position? No, because Ebron will spike a couple of passes in the first 2 weeks, and that'll be the end of it.
Right.
I don't know how high that ceiling is.
I'm not saying he's going to be a stud. I'm just saying he could be a name to pencil in for a later round pick.
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say to not.
The best way I can describe it is the situation that like Baltimore had, where Eric Ebron is like the Mark Andrews, who can catch the ball really well, can't block, and then Pat F is going to be like the Nick Boyle part of that offense where he's like the blocking tight end. But every once in a while he'll catch a touchdown in the end zone. But I think he has more talent than Nick Boyle, and I think he'll wind up playing more. It's just someone to keep an eye on if you need a tight end. That about wraps it up for me on my end. Pat, you got anything you want to add?
There's no one else on this list. The only one player named to watch, gonna probably drop, and I don't think he should. But he's not getting talked about, and that's Amari Rodgers. And the reason he's not getting talked about is because no one knows where Aaron Rodgers is going to be.
Yep.
But if Aaron Rodgers leaves, God forbid, as we've already talked about, Blake Bortles not the worst option in the world.
Yeah.
They still have Devontae Adams, but now Devontae Adams, If you take out Aaron Rodgers, now
Makes
Devontae
sense.
Adams wants to leave. So you got them dropping like flies over there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget that they did go out of their way to draft Amari Rodgers, not as early as Aaron Rodgers would like a
Right.
wide receiver. But depending on how the chips fall in Green Bay, he's got the skill set.
Yep.
He's definitely on my watch list. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him sneak in to somewhat of a meaningful role.
I agree.
And that is the last thing I got.
All right. Well, we are right about to hit the 2-hour mark on this episode, and there it goes. So thank you guys for watching, listening, however you did this. I hope this was entertaining for you guys. We'll try to keep them shorter because I know we all have attention spans of a squirrel at times.
We will fail.
Yes, we will fail because Pat and I like talking about this stuff. So this is going to be, as of right now, the plan is until the regular season starts. We're going to be doing this about once a month, maybe twice a month if something big happens. And then once the season starts, we'll be doing once a week. If there is a demand for more, we will up the ante. But as of right now, because we both work full-time jobs, it also took us 4 days to get this scheduling done, mainly because of me. But we got it done. And I don't know what else to say. This was a good first episode. I felt good about it.
Went well.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.